On today's show, I'm going to have a conversation with a BICSI technician and how that certification impacted his career.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to the show where we tackle the tough questions submitted by installers, estimators, project managers, anybody who's interested in the cabling industry. We are connecting at the human level so that we can connect the world. If you're watching this show on YouTube, would you mind hitting the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified when new content's being published? If you're listening on podcast platforms, give us a 5-star rating. Those couple little tricks helps us beat the algorithm so we can get this message out to more people in the industry to educate, encourage, and enrich the lives of more people. Thursday nights, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, where you get to ask your favorite RCDD, that would be me, questions, right? And then I can hear you now. Chuck, I'm driving home at Thursday nights at 6 p.m. I can't be watching my screen at the same time. They're recorded and put on YouTube and then also the website. So you can always go back and watch them. So make sure that you watch it. So on today's show, I have with me a BICSI certified technician. Now, I'm a BICSI certified technician too, but I wanted the viewpoint of somebody else. Now, this BICSI technician, not just any BICSI technician. This one is my brother. Yeah, so we might even get into some horror stories about each other. So I got to be careful with the edit button to make sure if I need to delete something. But so I want to welcome to the show Rob Yates, BICSI technician extraordinaire. Rob, how you doing?
Oh, doing all right. Thanks, big brother, for that fantastic introduction. It's
Yeah.
good to be part of your show.
Just a moment.
Just a moment. Oh, you tell me to keep all my
Sorry,
stuff
I
quiet
didn't quite
yet.
catch that.
Now your
Could you
phone's going
please
crazy. You see how this works? Wonder on mom's favorite.
I don't know why it started doing that. It's all of a sudden by itself.
Oh.
Anyways, start that over again. I don't have to go all the way back from the beginning, but I can.
Why not? I think this is a great intro.
Oh, you do, huh?
Yeah, look,
okay.
This is what you want, bro.
Yeah, shooting from the hip. Exactly right.
I told you, and this is what we were going to do, and I told you I'd do it as long as we do it this way.
There you go. So the first quick thing I want you to put out there is just give us a 30-second elevator pitch about your career in communications. Don't tell me who you work for, but just kind of so people understand your background experience a little bit. How'd you get into communications, and what kind of things have you done in 30 seconds or less?
30 seconds or less?
Or 45.
I'm going to say that's a little difficult because I've been doing this 30 plus years. So to start off, summertime when I was 17, I was looking for that summertime job. And the guy who's sharing the screen with me said, hey, why not come work for me for the summer, or a particular company? I said, okay. Now I'd done everything, from roofing, carpentry, making signs, just jack of all trades, master of none. So I came and started working with you. And I'll never forget my first day actually working with you was a new construction building, but the floor we were on really wasn't new construction. And you told me that we were going to start installing under carpet cabling. I'm like, okay, this is pretty wild. So this cable ran under the carpet. You drilled a hole in the wall, brought it up through the wall, and you showed me how to terminate it. And then from there on out, you showed me how to do other terminations and other things. And I was fascinated with the career, or fascinated with everything I was doing. I got to go to different places every day. I never had to go to the same mundane job over and over and over. I got to meet new people. I got to see different states and countries, so forth and so on. So that was the beginning of it. You and I actually worked together for quite some time. And then you stayed with one company and I decided to branch out on my own to a smaller venue. and I was the rock star, the big fish in a little pond, right? Because I knew everything. Well, that really wasn't getting me very far. And then around the year 2000, maybe 1999, I got my BICSI certification for installer. And man, I was blown away with all the stuff, all the years that I've been doing prior to that, all the stuff I'd been doing wrong, right? Guess what? You're not allowed to just throw a cable through the ceiling, and just roll with it. Well, I can sit on a ceiling grid, it'll support it, sure. I did some sketchy stuff back in the day. I'm not going to lie to you. And then actually participating in the BICSI program, I learned quite a bit about grounding, bonding, how to actually do proper installation work, labeling, you name it. And about 3 years after just getting my installer's certification, a company I was working for at the time said, hey, look, we will actually give you more money if you go out and get your technician certification. I said, what? I had it in 6 months, and that was, a lot of that was studying on my own. Good news, or the good thing about that was when I was doing it, I was still had everything from the BICSI installer fresh in my head. So, now I'm not gonna lie to you, I skipped a couple chapters in the technician level, and I almost paid a dearly cost for that because guess what? They said, hey, let's talk about this chapter. And I'm like, uh-oh, didn't read that one. But I passed that by the skin of my teeth, I guarantee it. And that was in 2003, and here we are, 2021, and I made sure not to let that lapse. That is one thing I hold near and dear to my career. It's taught me quite a bit. It showed me a lot of the field I would never have seen before if I had never taken it.
I never knew that before. You and I got our technician certifications pretty close to each other. I got
Really?
mine in 99.
Yeah, well, I got you're the one that told me about it. You're like,
Right.
hey, Peanut, you need to do X, Y, and Z. This BICSI thing is huge. And I'm like, scratching my head. I'm like, it's just another certification. Like before, back in the day, like when Cat 5 was out there, like, oh, Leviton or Panduit, they'd always throw out this little thing, say, hey, look, show me how to terminate a jack. You're certified. So that's what I thought BICSI was. It's like, oh, I'm going to terminate a jack and I'll get another certification that I can stack of papers, of certifications. And then actually, when I sat through the 1 week class, I was like, wow, that's not like all those vendors that are trying to get you that little cert.
Right.
So,
So didn't you also go take the BICSI's project management course too?
yes, I did. And that was pretty intensive too. Um, that was, I did it in a couple parts, which is really weird. And I did it before they got their stuff together on it. But it took me, was it PMP 100?
That sounds right. I don't know the number off the top of my
Yeah,
head, but
there was one
that sounds
2-day
right.
class, and then there was another 2-day class, and then another one, and I got all 3 certificates.
So I got to tell the audience this because you already referenced it one, and somebody may not caught that. Your nickname's Peanut.
Yeah.
So if you hear him say Peanut, he's talking about himself because that was his nickname that he got when he was growing up, and we always called him Peanut. And just
What do you mean was? It still is. I am a 50-year-old man with the name Peanut.
Yeah, but there was a few years there that you didn't like to be called Peanut. So
Well,
we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Well,
no, I got promoted to a
I'm
foreman.
calling out the big brother card. Done.
No, you gotta let me explain this.
Okay, go ahead.
I got promoted to a foreman, and you don't want to go to a job site and say, hi, my name is Peanut, and I work for X, Y, and Z company, and I'm here to install your cable. Guy will look at you and go, no, you're not. Not with a name like Peanut, So I figured I'd change it because I was, really jumpstarting my career, and I wanted to look more professional.
So you got some insight on BICSI training, the installer level, the technician level, and then the project management classes, right? So how would you say that attending those classes and getting those certifications have impacted your ability to make money?
It's definitely a bonus because with those certifications allows me to branch out in other fields, other companies, and actually ask for a better salary.
Right. Now, do you think
It
you
just
kind of,
shows that it just shows that I have the education and the knowledge
right,
to install communications properly.
right. And do you think that because of going through those classes has made you a better technician and a better project manager?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Would you recommend those classes to somebody who's thinking about getting certified or going to the project management classes?
Yes.
And
And then
why?
now when I say this, like if you're going to become an installer, if you're going to become a technician, if you're going to become a project manager, right? All these require tests at the end. So if take the time, take a week off, take 2 weeks off, whatever it takes, do the class, do the test immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Do not sit around and go, oh, I'll take it in a month, 2 months.
Right.
Things come up. I understand it's a little difficult. It's like pulling that Band-Aid off. Just pull it off, get it out of the way, and get that certification. Because I guarantee you, without a doubt, if I were to take that technician level test right now,
You'd
I'd
probably struggle
fail
with it, just like
horribly.
I would probably as well too.
Probably fail horribly because
Yeah.
they've added so much since 2003.
Yeah, and that's a great point because I had somebody ask me today. They said that they're reading through the 14th edition of the TDMM, and they're going to take their RCDD test, and they asked me if I had any tips for them. And I answered that question on the live stream a few weeks back, so I actually sent him the link to the live stream for that stuff. And the number one thing, don't procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't procrastinate. And what runs through our family?
Procrastination.
Procrastination. He's as bad of it as I am.
Well, if I do this, it's just going to hurt me in the long run. So
Yeah, and I the second piece of advice that I gave that person also was make it painful to not take the test. Now, what I mean by that is I told that person, if you're thinking about taking the test, go right now, pay the fee, schedule the test, pay for the test. So that way, if you cancel the test, it's going to hurt you financially.
yeah.
It forces you to go do that. It forces you to do that. So I just did a RCD study group the tail end of this year because everybody was interested in studying and stuff like that. And the reason I did this because I hadn't read the TDMM since I passed my RCD test a long time ago. And I did that, created the study group because I knew that it would keep me accountable. I knew that I would read it if I knew that I had to get in front of a group of people in 6 days and talk about what we read. Had it not been for that, I might or might not have read it because I've got a boat and I've got a farm and I got all kinds of responsibilities. I might not have done it. So you got to find ways to make yourself accountable. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Before we get started, funny story number one for the day. Funny story number one for the day. Now you get to tell them too. But just remember, no cuss words.
All right, so let's hear this funny story number one.
So funny story number one. I got lots of funny stories, and I have actually told this one in class before. So you're infamous because I talk about you in a lot of my classes.
I know. You've taught people in my company, and they come up to me the next day going, "Really?" Like,
Yep.
30
and
years,
of course,
stuff happens.
And I will preface this that probably the majority of the stories you're going to hear today were before we were taught what was correct and what wasn't correct.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of my favorite
things
things
safety was an issue.
Yes. So when you first got in the industry, we did a project for I can't remember the name of the company. It was a call center in Norfolk, Virginia. A huge call center and multiple closets on each floor. And so we're in there and we were pulling cable and we were terminating cables. Well, I was in one closet terminating. You were in another closet terminating, and I'm sitting. And I was proud of how fast I could punch down the 666. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm kind of listening out of the side of my ear just to make sure you're okay. And I hear you bam, 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 bam. Like, and you'd only been in the industry for like, I don't know, maybe 6 months at the time or so.
Maybe a year.
I'm like, there is no way he's faster than me.
I was rocking it, man.
So I go over and I kind of peek my head in, and there you are with the punch tool, just going against the wall, with it real fast. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I just wanted you to think I was faster than you.
It worked. Hey,
uh,
it's funny. I remember that call center because we were in such a rush to whip one another's butt. Nobody bothered to check the second floor to see if the cables were dressed, and it shot from one side of the room to the other because nobody took the time to dress them down. We just grabbed them, dressed them in the closet we were in, and terminated them. Then had to pull it all apart and do it all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
I remember that one. I do remember that.
we've had some fun times together. Absolutely sure. So now with your BICSI certification, I know that you've done some work for some high profile clients and some big major projects and stuff, and now you're starting to shift into more outside plant. I would actually consider you more of an outside plant expert than me, because I've got very little outside plant experience. So again, tying back into the whole conversation, when you're out there doing that stuff, how are you using your certification and the knowledge that you learned from your training to help make your crews better?
Well, as far as using my technician certification to make my crews better, I'm in a field now that I never thought I'd see myself in, right? Because it's outside. But as soon as I started doing it, it just seems to click. And again, like you said, I may know actually more about the OSP world than you. I'm still learning it on a day-to-day basis. So doing that, I do constant reading on, new equipment, ways to install cable. We install a cable. It's 3456. It's 3,456 strands of fiber. And if it's not done correctly, you want to talk about a nightmare. And we did everything throughout the vaults fine, but as we took it up in through the building, the pull boxes that they gave us were not large enough. So as we tried to pull the cable out and then feed it back in, you cannot keep the 10 times the diameter of the cable. Mm-hmm. So what had happened was it snapped, which caused what? Yeah, failures on quite a few strands.
Yeah.
And when these high profile clients want every strand of fiber to work,
mm-hmm.
you need to get that fixed and fixed immediately. And if I'm not mistaken, this particular cable ran about $28 a foot. And if you're installing about 3,000 feet, it gets a little pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, I'm learning, and I constantly read on better ways and better methods as to do stuff.
Okay.
Now, which is really well, because like you asked me about how my technician certification plays in this role. There's parts of it that do and parts that don't. From what I remember from BICSI term, or excuse me, labeling. Labeling's a big thing. You got to have it perfect, because I got to label every vault, and you don't want to keep going back into them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now it's your turn. Funny story about me. I might regret this. Funny story about me.
Funny story about you. Well, outside the fact that when you and I did work together, I thought my sole purpose was to keep track of your keys.
I still lose my keys. I still lose them.
I couldn't tell you a job where we didn't go on to where you're like, Peanut, you see my keys?
Yes.
You just had them 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So I would have to walk your path and find your keys. And then there's a lot of stories I could tell, but we got to be professional here. And,
yes, we do. Well, here's the cool thing, right? Yeah, and this is not because just you and I are brothers, but we worked really well together. Really, and I have actually mentioned this in class several times as well. And it all comes with when you work with somebody well enough, you can anticipate their next moves, right?
Yes.
So what I mean is, like, when you and I would go do a job, we talk all day long on the job site, but nothing about cabling. We would talk about everything else. We're talking about the Steelers or the Orioles or the barbecue this weekend. We never talked about work, because on the drive to work, I would say, are you doing the closet or am I doing the closet? And once we've established that, You knew what you had to do. I knew what I had to do. There was no talking about the job. We knew what the other person was going to do. And like I said, we talked all day long about everything else but communications. And that's a sign of a good functioning crew. And
Yeah.
also when you pick on each other.
Yeah. We did that quite a bit. But
Yeah.
to add on to what you're saying, I was taught later on in life about the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And usually you go over with your foreman or your project manager what's going to happen on a job, right? And then every morning you have daily huddles. And just like you and I would do, we would talk about it on the way into work. And by the time we got to work, we were just running our
Mm-hmm.
mouths.
Yep.
So, like in the morning, I'll bring the guys together, say, hey, look, we need to do X, Y, and Z. I want to get from here to here. You know what you have to do, right? And I give them the supplies and the stuff they do, and which allows me to jump ahead of them so I can do the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Say, all right, look, everything's working out. And I usually have a plan A, B, and C, right? So in the outside plant world, there's cranes, there's bulldozers, there's concrete, there's mudslide, well, you name it. There's always something getting in our way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I have to plan for that. And some days it gets really challenging, but usually if my team's really good, so we take it all in stride. So they usually don't get upset when I say, hey, look, we're going to do A, B, and C. Oh, there's a crane there. All right. Let's go over this way and do this.
So let me ask you this question, right? So you're dealing with a lot of younger people because you're getting up in the age just like I'm getting up in
Watch
age.
it. Watch it. Just remember, you're 8 years older than me.
And way smarter and mom's favorite, by the way. And so
At least I'm better looking.
That's up for debate. Anyways, moving on. So let me ask you this because I want to hear your input because you have direct contact with this more than I do. I hear a lot because the circles that I run in are guys my age because we've been around. We're RCDs, we're managers, stuff like that. You're out in the field. You're dealing with the people right fresh off the street and stuff like that. Are you finding that today's people coming into the industry, are they better than we were when we got in this industry for as far as wanting to learn knowledge or not learn knowledge? Are they the same or are they less? What are your thoughts on people coming into the industry?
Currently, yes, they want to gain information, gain knowledge. I have seen that quite a bit. They have the drive to become smarter. As far as work ethic, it's kind of tapered off a little bit. Like when you actually have to tell somebody they have to work a true 10-hour day and you're doing something, they get a little have a tendency to cry about. Chuck, when you and I did this, right, and we had to do those weekend cutovers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't, oh, I can only work 8 hours and I'm gonna go home. No. You started Friday night, you were there till Monday morning. You slept on the job site.
Oh yeah. Was I working with you that time that we slept in the closet on the concrete floor?
Maybe.
Because I remember, I seem to remember, I remember doing that. I just don't remember if it was, if the people I was doing, I don't remember if you were one of them or not, but we were working a cutover, just like you said. And
Where
we
you
had
had to
worked like
program the
18, 19,
phones.
20 hours and we needed a break and
Yeah.
we just kind of laid down. And you say, oh, I'll never lay down on concrete because it's not comfortable. When you work those kinds of hours,
Oh, it's comfortable.
it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It
And
is
see,
comfortable.
and trying to, I mean, there are a rare few that actually believe in that, that when stuff needs to be done, there are a rare breed that actually will stick around and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And just I haven't seen a lot of that lately. But now it's like instead of doing that, what they do is they break it up in 3 shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, how does the communication work? You know how it works? You got that one dumb butt that's sitting there the whole
Mm-hmm.
time going,
Right.
all right, they started
Right.
on this. Now you start on this. Now you start on this.
Right. Okay. Funny story number 2.
Shoot.
Funny story number 2. So you and I are working at at one of the largest law firms in Washington D.C.
Okay.
I won't say who it was. and we were pulling some cable. We were probably working. I think we were working like second shift, maybe even third shift. It was in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning. I don't remember which. And so we got the cable dolly and we got all the stuff. We want to go down to the parking garage. We just want to go home. So we go there and we push the button. Of course, if you've ever worked at an office building downtown DC in the middle of the night, you know all the elevators are shut off except for one or two, so the people can go up and down and transport the trash out in the middle of the night. So we're sitting there, we're waiting and we're waiting and waiting, and to be honest, I don't remember. I think we were at the freight elevator actually, and one of us, I don't remember which one it was, went over and rode down on the elevators that the people ride on, which you're not supposed to because we're construction workers. And then when that person went down, the other person got the elevator. We got downstairs almost about the same time, and even to this day, you and I still harass each other over that, and we still say randomly from time to time, you'd still be waiting for that
Waiting
elevator.
on that elevator. Yep. Now, see, your memory's clearly shot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But you are correct in one thing. It was a large law firm.
And it was DC.
No, it was not DC. It was Baltimore.
No.
Because it was Baltimore. Hey, DC, oh, they've got 20-story buildings in DC. No, they don't. They're only 13.
I can even tell you which building it was.
I can tell you which building it was.
Okay. We're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one. And we know that because I'm the older brother, I'm right and you're wrong.
I'm telling you right now because we had to constantly do changes. Because you remember the roam switch where at this particular place, and we had to do all the cross connects. So we would have to constantly run up and down the stairs or take the elevator. And we made a comment. It's like, waiting on the elevator takes so long. We take steps because we're only going down like 2 floors instead of waiting 20 minutes for the elevator. And guess what? Your butt would still be waiting for the elevator.
No, not quite.
Yeah.
So now getting back to the BICSI certification.
What about it?
So now that when you got your BICSI certifications and stuff, do you find that people, and when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about your subordinates, people that work for you, do they look at you differently? Do you automatically get respect? Do they treat you differently because you got that certification? Do they look at you as a mentor?
That's a really good question. I've had it for so long, I've really stopped noticing. I mean, when I first got it, I was, that guy that's high on the hog, cloud nine, just look at me. I'm, BICSI 5000, I can do everything. And then after having it for so long, I mean, I do enjoy it when I find out people in my company are taking it, and they'll ask me about certain, what was it like for you? Right. And I tell them pretty much the same thing I told you. Right. It's like, once you start it, don't stop it. Get it done. And then when they start telling me stuff that they've learned from the books, and I recall some of the answers, it's actually rewarding to me, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know if they look at me any differently because I have it. It's just, it's one of those things you get and you make sure you hold on to it.
So here's my challenge to you. Okay. And while I give you this challenge, I want you're one behind me. So you got to think of another funny story about me.
No, I don't know the color code, so we can't do this.
No. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
That was my job.
See, look. Oh, no, I know what it is now.
You see this? He forgot what he's going to say, which means he forgot the story and forgot how to tell it correctly. So, senility.
I don't know what.
Probably Alzheimer's or onset dementia.
I don't know what HD is, but the doctor says I've got 80 of them.
ADHDs?
Yes.
That's pretty funny. I like that.
TikTok, buddy. Chuck's not that funny. I got that off of TikTok. And anyways.
That was funny, though.
So here's my challenge to you.
Shoot.
So when you came to work for communications, you were doing roofing and a bunch of other stuff, and you came to work for communications. I basically took you under my wing and I mentored you.
Yeah, you did. I thank you to this day for actually getting me into an industry.
And I did that because, well, lots of reasons. One, you're my brother, and a bunch of other reasons too. But here's my challenge. You're not getting younger.
Yeah.
Pick somebody that you work with and be their mentor. like I was mentoring you.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you, you got to pick the person. I'm not going to tell you who to pick, because you got to look at all the people you interact with and figure out which one you think has the most drive and is most willing to do that stuff. And I want you to be a mentor to them like I was to you, but I want you to pay it forward. I want you to
Okay.
pay it forward. Okay.
So can I
Now,
pick on them like you used to pick on me?
you know,
The boogeyman's coming.
that reminds me of a story with electrical tape and an individual who was pouting, and I'll just leave it at that. And you probably know exactly who I'm talking about.
The individual and the electrical tape.
And he was pouting.
Yeah, well, some may actually consider that what are they, against their will? Being held against their will.
No, we only taped his hands to his head.
Yeah, we taped his hands to his head, but yeah, okay.
And we'll just leave it at that.
You would just leave that there.
Yeah, we'll leave that one right there. Again, preface, this was done before we were taught safety-wise how to act and not act. We were both young people.
Hey, can I touch on that for a second? Safety in the industry of communications.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Be careful though, because I might give come back with a story about how you weren't safety conscious.
No, I never was. When I first started in the communications industry, there was no safety whatsoever. I was the guy, using ladders to walk. I would stand on top of them. Sometimes I'd even climb into the ceiling and walk water pipes. It's whatever I had to do to get the cable from point A to point B as fast as humanly possible. But now, the safety industry, God bless them, they do keep us safe, and I do enjoy. I do like some of the stuff they do. I'm not going to say all of it, but when you go to a job site and you've got 5 different safety managers from each different company coming up to you saying, hey, you need to do it like this. You need to do it like this. You need to do it like this. It gets redundant, and all I want to do is lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a shame, because my job's pretty simple, and my team knows what to do, and they know how to be safe.
Are these safety managers?
They have nothing else to
different
do.
Trades? Different safety managers from different trades?
Different, yeah. Well, no, different. Like, say we want a job. Well, first of all, I'm the first safety, or actually my foreman's the first safety guy. Then it's me, right? Then we have our own safety person, right? And after our safety person goes to the job or the major companies, and then after them is the company that they work for, their safety person.
Yeah, but you know what? If it keeps one person from getting injured, and I've mentioned this in class before, and you'll understand when I say this. You and I've lost a family member because of a safety violation.
Yes, we did. And he was the safety guy.
So, while it can be a pain having a bunch of safety people looking over you, if you know what, I bet you if that uncle of ours would have had the opportunity to have 5 safety guys looking over top of him and be alive today, he would have chosen that.
I agree. You're killing me, Smalls,
Mm-hmm. Smalls? What's Smalls?
Yeah. You never heard it? Sandlot? Really, Chuck? You're killing me, Smalls?
I have no idea what you're talking about. You might as well be talking Greek.
Sorry, he's so out of date. Go on.
What are you talking about? Okay, so what's your funny story about me? Because you haven't said it yet.
What do you mean I haven't said it yet? They're all funny.
Okay, fine. Then I got another funny story for you.
Oh, why it's going to be about me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, you sit here and think about them all
day.
No,
I don't.
You have nothing else. Some of us have to work.
Hey, it's not my fault that I can think, walk, and breathe all at the same time. I can multitask, and other people can't.
If that's what makes you sleep at night, you just go with that. Okay?
So anyways, so your job before you got into communications was a roofer, right?
Yeah.
And there's a very specific hammer that you used to use when you do sheet or shake roofing, right? It's kind of like a hatchet on one side and a hammer on the other side. That way you could split the cedar shakes.
Are you really going to tell them about this and how I used it in the communications world?
You were brand spanking new in the communications world, and you didn't have the money to go buy the tools. You didn't have the money to go buy the tools By the way, you still got my punch tool. I loaned you my punch tool 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and you still have it. You never gave
Oh
it
yeah.
back to me.
Hey, come on
Anyways,
over and get it.
so you didn't want to go out and buy a regular hammer. So you wanted to reuse that hatchet hammer thing.
Yeah, it's a
And
hatchet.
so you'd set it on top of a ladder
10
and
foot.
you went to go
10-foot
move
ladder.
a ladder and something happened with that hammer. I don't remember what.
Would you like me to tell the story?
Yes, please tell us the story.
All right. We're doing a school, and in a school they have cinder block walls everywhere. And like he said, the only hammer I could afford at the time was the one I'd already had. So I climbed up the top of this ladder, and back in the day, it's hurry, 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 get it done, get it done, get it done. Don't worry about being safe, get it done, get it done, get it done. So I start smashing out the concrete with this hatchet. Well, somebody said, "Hey, I need you to come down here and look at something or other, like a printer cable." I said, "All right." So I set the hatchet down there, and I jump down off the ladder, and I go over and I look, and they're like, "Oh, well, maybe you need to look up in the ceiling to see if the cable's cut." I'm like, "Oh, I got a ladder right here." Well, I left the hatchet on top of the ladder. So I grabbed that ladder, and if I'm lying, I'm dying. That hatchet came down, and it hit me in the back of my skull, blade first. And it hit it. I actually heard it ting. And I heard the sound for a split second before the pain hit. I'm like, "Hey, what was that?" And then the pain hit, and I grabbed the top of my head. And I went running outside the room. The guy I was working with, I said, "Hey, buddy, did I bust my head open?" And he looked at the top of my skull, and he started smiling. I'm like, "What?" And I put my hand on top of my head and brought it down. It was just covered in blood. Fortunately, we were at a school, and there's a school nurse. And then they took me over to the school nurse, and they said, "All right, we're going to ask you a few questions." They said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name's Rob Yates, otherwise known as Peanut." I said, "All right, who's president of the United States?" I said, "His name is,
And I had the bad memory.
no, legit, I couldn't remember." They're like, "What's today's date?" "Oh yeah, it's the day after yesterday." What is today? It's day before tomorrow, but it was the day after yesterday. Today is and legit, apparently I had a concussion. So they scooped me up and shipped me off over to urgent care. So where I got butterfly stitches in the back of my skull.
And he hasn't been the same since.
Yeah, been smarter, more intelligent, faster.
That's debatable. All right, so parting words of wisdom. Parting words of wisdom. What would you tell somebody who might be listening to this show, who might be thinking about communications as a career and safety as a career and certifications? Parting words of wisdom. What would you tell them?
Get into design. The field isn't meant for the weak.
Wait a minute. Did you just call me weak?
Did
you?
See, he is smart, isn't he?
I could tell another story about two individuals getting into a wrestling match at work, and I can tell you who won that one, and it wasn't you.
Hey, I do remember an individual got smacked so hard in his forehead, he saw stars for a week, and I was only 9.
well, okay, if you were 9, I was what?
College Park.
16, 17?
Park. When you lived in College Park.
And you do have a hard head. I'll give you that. You do have a hard head. You do have a hard head. Knock your
boy out with that.
Yes.
And I was a youngin'.
Yep. So, now let me ask you this question. I'm going to put you on the spot.
What?
Do you listen to my podcast?
Hell no.
What?
No.
What?
No, I don't want to inflate your ego any more than it already is. Yes, I do listen to it, bro. You don't have to mess with you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't expect anything less. I really wouldn't. Really wouldn't. All right, brother, man. Well, it has been good having you on the show, and I really want you to pick somebody, and I want you to mentor them. And the next time we talk, I'm going to ask you about it. I'm going to follow up on that, and I want you to tell me who you picked. And I want that person, if you even feel free to give that person my contact information. So that way I can make sure that you're telling him the right stuff.
All right, bro.
Until next time, everybody, knowledge is power.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.